So, hello and welcome to the New Gig podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Hodgson, and today I'm delighted to be joined by freelancer Maximilian Kürschner. How are you doing, Maximilian?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here. How are you doing? And congrats again to your book, actually. I saw you're traveling around a lot with that.
Thank you. Well, trying to get the world of to be aware of the future of work, which is the sort of the ongoing process, Maximilian. But yeah, it's fun as well at the same time. But Maximilian, give us a little bit of an overview of your background and a little bit about the personal journey that
Mhm.
takes you through some of the steps, but also where you are today.
It's actually a funny story because I landed in my professional business just by accident because I was applying at a business for like a typical KYC check job. I was a payment service provider for online
Yeah.
shops to offer credit card payments. And in the interview process, someone asked me, "Hey, Max, actually, we set up a nice risk department. Are you interested in joining?" And I was like, "Sure, sounds interesting. Let's do that." And from this point on, I accidentally, yeah, stumbled into the career of a risk and fraud manager for over 10 years now when I was still employed. I was, taking care of risk and fraud issues for basically online shops, but I also worked in fintechs and, yeah,
Yeah.
help them to figure out internal, external risks and helping online shops to avoid fraud with payments, for example. And this all led to me building up my own business last year in July because I had several layoffs because companies were always stopping the jobs because of economical reasons. And I was always doing my actual job 60% in those companies. And I was like, okay, I really want to do it 100%, even though we have sales and marketing and everything else. But I want to work it to the core and make the experience to the core finally. And this is why I became freelancer in anti-financial crime consulting. And on one hand, trying to reach out to online shops or online shops reaching out to me when they're being attacked right now with
Mm.
fraudulent transactions, with chargeback issues, with fulfillment issues too. And on the other hand, being an interim and project manager in anti-financial crime like compliance, anti-money laundering, and all of this for bigger companies and fintechs.
Excellent. So you've built up the sort of the knowledge and expertise over a period of time, and thought to yourself, well, now is the moment. Now I'm going to sort of go for it 100%. And I think it's often that tipping point that we reach in our
Mhm.
lives, isn't it, Maximilian? We think, okay, we're kind of doing both, but shall I jump over with both feet?
Exactly. And you talked about education. So I was never this, bachelor, master, doctor's person because I
Right.
got out of school when I was 15, with like a middle class degree. And then I just went back and working and wanted to get the experience. And over time, got my education and my degrees when I was working on the weekends and after
Yeah.
work and building up my expertise by reading things, watching videos, and having great peers and great mentors too throughout my journey. And also, reason why I wanted to break out was because the market is so focused on those degrees. You need to enter any job with a bachelor or master's degree,
Yeah.
even though we have 10 years of experience and need to justify everything. And I just wanted to show my expertise and my experience to people and make sure that they see this and not only my degrees actually.
Mm. And I think this is an interesting thing that you raised there actually, because this is something that I think we're seeing sort of more and more. It's not just the future of work in terms of the roles and the value that they can bring, but it's also the sort of the reskilling and upskilling and what's actually needed and how individuals go about educating themselves as well as following
Mhm.
traditional paths.
Exactly. Like knowing where the sources are, but also, you're, especially when I was employed, them actually pushing you to get this education with a budget, with, supporting you with taking you by the hand and show you where you can get this knowledge by instead of just throwing you into the market, let you work and do nothing about it, and then see after 3 years you're not happy anymore and you're not following up with the current trends. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it's also people taking more responsibility in terms of this is what's interesting for me, this is what I need to know, but also that I think, as you're saying there as well, the fact that there is so much more information out there that you can actually learn, you can watch videos, you can read podcasts, Substacks on specific topics. So there's never been more information and never been more available information for some really
Hmm.
smart people who are actually doing these things on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm. And exactly, that's a good point. And also validating this information out there. You know, right now everyone can post anything. We see it in the world's
Yeah.
politics too. Everyone can just say
Yes.
something, and a big crowd believes what they're saying. So I think we are living in a world with a lot of information, maybe even informational crisis going on.
Mm.
And you need to distinguish whether this information you hear is valid. Is this person actually an expert? And is it true what they're saying, or do they just post something to post something and help, ask ChatGPT for facts that might not be true, for example?
Yes, and I think that's a problem because we're seeing more and more of that as well. Everyone can be an influencer, but also everyone could be a potential educator, and what they're actually sort of bringing to bear in terms of the knowledge and expertise can sometimes be
Hmm.
bogus. And if we were all using sort of just the same channels without actually thinking,
Hmm.
putting those filters in place, I think that
Hmm.
that's something that could really cause us problems.
Hmm. Exactly, exactly.
And tell us, Maximilian, a little bit the steps about sort of you were doing this sort of in-house,
Hmm.
then you built the company.
Hmm.
In terms of that process there, how did you actually start to sort of build the brand of the company, build your own personal brand, get known by the community, the ecosystem, but also the potential buyers?
Hmm. The funny thing is, it's almost a year. It's like 9 or 10 months now that I'm freelancing. I'm still on it. I
Yep.
think this is one of the, I don't want to say issues because it's of course your personal preparation for the whole journey. But it's figuring it out the whole time. You have no playbook, of course, but I wouldn't mind some guidelines. In the beginning, I had the support from the government. Basically, they support you up to 6 months with paying you your unemployment money, and you
Yep.
can prepare for your freelancing journey and also receive some training from a professional. Because you need to, if you want to have this kind of money, you need to hand in a business plan, you need to hand in your financial plan, and they offer you a course with someone like a one-to-one coaching, and
Yep.
this person shows you the basics and gives you a lot of expertise. I had a great person. Thanks so much to my coach back then. But it's
Excellent.
still theory, a lot of theory. Then you're being pushed on the market and you try to swim. You can't swim. You don't have any support that
Yeah.
floats you on. You just need to struggle. You need to also include your personal things or and issues that you had before, right? I mean, we're not all born with perfect mental health. It's a stressful situation. You need to
Mm.
check that your balance is still there. And up to then, it was literally telling everyone that I'm freelancing and ask for advice. I have a great friend. She's also personal trainer, freelancing basis, and she also says your closest environment usually has the worst feedback because they're always concerned. They're always, they know the casual 9 to 5 life, and that's security for them, and they're always scared about you doing something wrong. So they're always going to tell you, okay, go back to the position, go back to companies, go back away from freelancing because you will be safe there,
Mm.
because they are uncomfortable with the uncertainty. So they will give you an advice to also go back to certainty as they
Yeah.
feel it, and also challenging this, with your own self doubts. And then the best thing I did was where we actually met. Go to events where freelancers
Yes.
are, get the spirit, catch the you can do it all,
Mm.
especially in Germany where we have, I heard, like a population of freelancers, the city of Hamburg, like the size, it's crazy. It's like
Yeah.
1 or 2 million freelancers, which is crazy. That's what I heard. And try to find them, try to hang on them. They're always great buddies too. And
Yeah.
talk, get all the feedback you can get. That's the first thing I learned too. Just listen to feedback. Don't defend yourself. Don't explain back. Just listen, take it in, go home, and work it out again.
Mm. Excellent advice. I think, and it is, and I think the sort of the freelance community is a real community where people are willing to support. I think it's the opposite of the corporate
Yeah.
world where people want to own their own areas. They want their silos and
Hmm.
they don't want to let anyone else in. So jealously guarding their knowledge and their areas of
Exactly.
competence. We all know those kind of micromanagement where people trying to build their own little empires. But the freelance community
Yes.
is so different. People share what they're doing, they share best practice and also things to avoid
Hmm.
as well. And I think it's so refreshing that the whole milieu, and I think that's what also attracts more people to kind of the
Hmm.
freelancing community, the freelancing lifestyle. It's this openness and willingness to support one another
Hmm.
through the changes that happen. That it's necessarily the case. You're going to have a few bumps in the road, but you can usually find your way around them.
Exactly. And this was all the feedback that was shared was so valuable, but it couldn't prepare on your specific market situation. You were talking about job situation, about how to catch the first jobs, and
Yeah.
that's a total different world. I mean, you feel so comfortable within this community, and you can get all the soft skills that are really important and amazing. But another thing that no one actually warned about is how difficult acquisition is, sales
Yeah.
and marketing. And because I was operational before that, I was never in the job to sell myself. Of course, in
Yeah.
interviews and before I got hired, of course, I was showing myself, which was funny because it was always about the person and not about the skills. And in freelancing, it's the other way around. It's mostly about how you can solve the problem, and of course your personality. It's more like the 50-50 thing here.
Yeah.
um and what I experienced, because we were asking for companies to how they are handling the situation, it is a toughie, especially if it's not your target group, especially. I
Mm.
mean, with me, it's online shops. It's also difficult to catch them because no one wants to, get a service sold,
Yes.
They don't want to be pointed at problems. Germany's also not very a preventional country, so the risk and fraud isn't on the first topic there. But on the other hand, you deal with bigger companies, like in my case, who need a project support, who need interim solutions. And Germany has this weird way of hiring people. It has a weird interview structure. You need to send a lot of documents beforehand. Then you need
Okay.
one, two, three, even four interview rounds. And then you are in a job where you, as I said, cover 60% of your knowledge, and 40% is just to keep you and to keep you busy. And they do the same with freelancers, where I'm like,
Okay.
you don't need to hire someone forever. You just can
Mm.
hire and fire as you wish, basically. Of course, have a contract and follow this contract's points that are mentioned, but don't treat freelancers as you deal with the long-term
Mm.
employees that you're hiring, because when I talk to my online shops, they have an issue. They just be like, "Can you help me? Can you solve my problem? Can I go to bed at night?" That's what they are focusing on, and not my
Yes.
my degree 10 years ago, my school
Mm.
certificates, and how I don't know which kitchen tool I am. When I think about it, am I a knife or am I KitchenAid? Whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I think companies need to change that by focusing on the expert, on the problem they can solve, and just have a quick and easy way of hiring, and not have this weeks of interview
Mm.
process and ghosting, of course, afterwards. Ghosting got so big too, and not even be like, "Hey, not working," or "Hey, you suck," or whatever,
Mm.
um, stuff like that. And this is the biggest issue. I think the companies need to adjust to a market of freelancers, not being afraid of them, and also have a shorter interview process, being really practical about it.
Mm. And particularly in an area and a field like yours, where often people contact you when they've got an issue and they can't be waiting
Mhm.
sort of like days, weeks, months to actually bring you on board. They want to have the value that you can deliver, and they usually want it probably after they've sort of waited and maybe left it too late in some cases as well. So they certainly need your help and your services immediately.
Exactly. It's so interesting to be finally able to help people immediately. Like the
Right.
interviews I had, or the interviews I had with online shops. I need to call it interviews because there were none. Like someone referred the customer to me. We had a call at 10 p.m. because this is when after business of online shops, and it was like, okay, that's my problem. I can't sleep because I'm attacked by fraudsters. I have this transaction problems. I have an online shop copied also at this case where a fake online shop of his brand was set up. It was a
Oh,
little
wow.
cute beekeeper shop in Germany, and he sold his little nice honey stuff and had a great marketing. And they attacked him because the big online shops are usually protected already, and they
Mm,
look for the smaller businesses now, and also to defraud them. And then no one asked me about my educational background. They just talked to me and they were like, okay, you know things better than I do.
right.
You can solve this problem better than I do. And I also had the feedback once where someone was like, okay, as long as you do it and I don't have to, perfect. And this is the thing. You hire your expert for a period of time to solve your problem. And then that's done. And we're done after 1 or 2 weeks. Then we check in again after a period of time. And but also, as you mentioned, of course, prevention would be so much better. I would
Yeah.
love to help people already beforehand before things go south. But as we're not digitally that far in Germany, I think
Right.
digital payment and digital payment fraud is also not big of an issue, and that's people are not focusing on it and only act upon it when it's already too late, when they are defrauded, when the fraud transactions hit in, and yeah, that's I would love to bring this awareness to Germany and Europe and everyone who wants to hear it and be like,
Yeah.
people, take 30 minutes, take an hour per month and check if you're okay and if you're preventing risks and frauds in your business.
Absolutely. And do you find that it's the word of mouth that actually spreads in terms of your expertise? It goes from sort of company to other organizations that they know that you can actually deliver in these kind of circumstances, or do you have to actually go out there with ads or
Hmm.
content based on some of the issues? How do you sort of
Hmm.
build that sort of brand piece, Maximilian?
Um, as I said, after almost a year, still figuring it out. I had jobs, and the funny thing is, my very first job was basically word by mouth, over three people. Someone told someone about the problem, who knew a person who knew me, and I
Okay.
could solve this specific issue exactly. It was so
Yeah.
funny, and this is also why I didn't give up yet. Why I'm still fighting for being here because it wasn't bad enough to stop, and it wasn't good enough to keep me 100% on the freelancing business.
Yeah.
And this is why it's both. It's basically both. In my business, in my niche but wide business, it is so important to know the big players. And the big players is not, the big concern, the big companies and the big, supporters and service providers. It's the people who know your people. Know the people who know your people, and try to sell them a product. Be like, hey, I can be the expert on the side, and if you refer someone to me, you get a bonus from, whatever revenue I do.
I see.
Um,
Yeah.
but of course, you need to be there. People need to know you're here and need to know call me whenever you need something. Um, I have my knowledge, I have my expertise, get to
Mm,
know me. That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. I mean, it's easier to get big projects for 1 to 3 months or longer. It's easier to talk to people who know people, but it's so difficult to get to the core audience of your services and your products, in my opinion. And this is what
yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out. And maybe for me, it is only the know the people that know your people business. That's what
Right.
I'm focusing on right now and acquiring them and reaching out to them. And maybe that's my way of freelancing. And that's also a big point in freelancing. You need to find your way. There's not
Yeah.
like a solution. You can follow every sales expert, but they probably did sales for 10 years themselves being employed, and now they try to go to a course with AI, like solve your problems with AI now because they can sell, they're good at it, right? And you think that's
Mm,
your solution, but make your own experience, talk to people, fail a
yeah.
lot, fall to the ground, enjoy the moment with your face in the mud and live it. Live your failures too, because they're normal, and then get up again. Like after training, you're strengthened now, and go on, fall again, and
Yeah.
try to make the muddy road back to the top.
Absolutely. I think that's the right approach. But I think that sort of word of mouth thing seems to be the strongest. And I know also the way that I work with individuals as well. It's people
Hmm.
who are recommended to me who've worked with people I trust, and that just instantly creates sort of that that bond and that sort
Exactly.
of trust in the abilities of the individual that you'll be working with as well. So I think it's strongest of all like that. So I think you're on a good path there already by the sound of things.
Exactly. Thanks. I hope so too. I mean, we can check it back in 3 months or 4 months.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
said something really important. What I also heard at the Freelance Unlock where we met actually, there was someone having a talk on stage, and he was like, recommending business is actually someone already. How do you call this? I don't know the English phrase, but someone already stepped in for you, right? Someone
Right. Yeah.
put on the risk to recommend you, and this is so valuable. If you manage that people by their own, not you ask them, hey, can you refer someone, but by their own refer people to you. That's a big trust thing. That's a big
Yeah.
quality sign, in my opinion, because they
Mm.
already step in, they take over the pre-risk of you making something wrong and the person not liking you again too because you referred them, right?
Exactly.
But
It's a big
and,
risk.
and
Yeah.
exactly, but also it's a big reward on the other hand
Yeah.
if you are a great person, a great expert. And this is I think very valuable word by mouth, and also gives you a nice little push because you're like, okay, people know people who need me, people think I'm good to need me or for free people that need me, and
Yes.
that's also something you shouldn't ignore actually. Yeah.
Definitely not. And given the journey so far, what are kind of the best and worst parts of being a freelancer? Is it the precarious nature of the life?
Mhm.
Is it the administration dealing with the rules and regulations, the
Mhm.
tax requirements? What's your sort of feeling at the moment about those elements?
I think the worst part in my journey is the uncertainty, and I was also very often very self-aware about myself and my talents. And in companies, I had a lot of great feedback about what I do and how I do it. And as soon as I started freelancing, this weird imposter issue came in. I was
Okay,
like, okay, I have 10 years of experience, but there are people with 20 years, and there's always someone who's better than you. Why should people buy from me?
right.
And if you don't have customers in the beginning that confirm that you're okay, this is the worst part to go through, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Whilst dealing with so many issues at the same time, you're just being pushed there, and you have to get new knowledge. You have to know how you sell yourself. You need to know how to get your customers, how to make taxes. Even though I'm close to my first tax declaration,
all
so I'm
right.
close to that. Let's
Oh
see how
goodness.
I'll talk after that. But there's systems for that, and having no idea where to go. If you spend your time in the wrong field and need to change it, what's the return on investment on what you do right now, or you should switch. That's the biggest part, the uncertainty and all this mental issues.
Yeah.
And I think the best part is the support coming from freelancers, even in your friend circle. I don't know how much great support I got from my great friend Monica, for example. She was pushing me so much, and she was giving me such a great light and such great spirit and feeling about my journey when I wanted to give up all the time. And also
Okay.
other freelancers. It's insane. Like you didn't think that a work environment, and it is
Mm.
still a work environment, even though it's not a company, can be so great and healthy and supporting and brighten up your path and be like, no, no, it's possible. Try this, try that, and giving you advice for free, not trying to elbow you around, like you said before,
Right.
in bigger companies, everyone has their own profit and elbow you around. That's magical. And I really wish anyone can do that. And I was tracking with my friends, like, you can be a freelancer, you can be just,
Yeah.
try to. Because I think people are just too scared. I think all of my friends can be freelancers at some point because you
Mm.
don't need the best and the unique person. You just need to do your things right and be a great, approachable expert on your field. And yeah, that was the best part, literally. And also the feeling, the freedom, connected with talking to other people who are maybe better or worse, or like in a better situation or in a worse situation than you, and try to push you no matter where they are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess with that is also the element as you were talking about before that companies and organizations need to learn, they need to adapt and understand how to utilize freelancers in the best way. And particularly because it's growing as a legitimate way of working. So this
Hmm.
work style is catching on. So the really the onus is back on companies and
Hmm.
organizations to adapt and understand how to bring in this talent that's out there and utilize it in the best way.
Exactly. I mean, what is happening currently? It is people keep firing people, which maybe economically is the reason, or you need to do that. But why can't you just have, I don't know, let's say 20-30% of your business is only by freelancers.
Yeah,
I recognize also in my field that it's especially when on the risk and fraud market, it's difficult to find experts, right? And this is
yeah,
why you try to, or sometimes tend to mishire, and then you have someone that you can't get rid of. I know it sounds stupid, but how many
yeah.
times have I seen that the whole company didn't like a person because they just act really bad and performed really bad, but they just keep accepting them. I don't know why. It's always interesting when businesses always do the same mistakes over and over again instead of just offer them a nice allowance and be like, not allowance, but acceptance money and be like, okay, both parties are not working here. Maybe you want to separate here.
Yeah.
But when it comes to HR or when it comes to employees, companies are being so passive. The only effort you feel is when they hire you, and then they keep you there. And if you want a raise, you always switch jobs because no one gives you a raise. So you switch the
Yes.
job again
Yeah.
because you get a 10%, 20% raise with that.
Mm.
And why not just think differently? I mean, why not hiring people for an issue? And if you like them, you hire them for, I don't know, a few days per month to help you with something, or interim. I see so many jobs being online for so many months, and I'm just really like, hey, hire me intermediate, like just have me there until you have a person. I can even help you find the right person. I can help you
Right.
educate people. I can help you find students to
Mm.
teach them the job, and then you have a perfect expert in your company. Because what I recognized is I was hired when I was a baby, a professional baby.
Yes.
I didn't know anything, but someone got me in the company and was like, "Hey, are you interested in doing this? Are you interested in this topic? Then we're happy to help you." And within my first months, I was building up things on my own. I was setting up a department with the help from my vice president. But this was so much happiness that brought to me and so much motivation that a company believes in me and
Yeah.
gives me the resources to
Mm.
develop. And those are the two things: get freelancers, hire and fire. It sounds so easy and bad at the same time, but it is the case. And yeah, try to educate your own employees to rise up and to make a greater job in your company with the help of freelancers, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is because it's becoming such it was something that was a little bit different, but now it's much more mainstream. And there's more and more people who are choosing this lifestyle as much as anything else. So it's everyone is in their
Hmm.
interest to be able to utilize the talent that's out there. And I think there's probably going
Hmm.
to be more of a mix of there's some full-time employees,
Hmm.
contractors, consultants, freelancers, and probably more of a blend depending on the company or the organization. But I think this should be something that still needs to be harnessed as opposed to rejected as a way of working.
Exactly. I really hope that your vision comes true. Because what I recognize German companies, it's always about being passive and to
Right.
milk out your situation. It's never been that innovational, right? We have big companies, we have car builders, we had a big taxi empire before Uber and all the other market players came along, and people don't like change here. You're
Right.
comfortable, you are having a revenue, let's stay here. Let's get the money, let's be rich in the moment. But in 5 years, you gotta be at the end of the market, on the bottom of the market, because you didn't follow up, you didn't check what's going on. And um
Yeah.
COVID was so interesting because you were forced to adjust. You were forced to think about new ways. Now everyone is hybrid. Without COVID, where would we be right now? We still would have Monday to Friday jobs in the office. We wouldn't have any
Right.
flexibility. So what
Yeah.
do we need? What's next? Do we need aliens coming? Do we need a zombie invasion to, I don't know, think about more freelancers in your business? Or can we one time just think ahead and be like, how can I smartly push? And it doesn't mean that you are degrading employmentship, right? It means that you are
Definitely
making
not.
the best of your situation. You push freelancing business. You also have a healthy employee status and a healthy employee pool in your company where most of the people are happy, hopefully. And that's what I wish exactly. And that's I hope this vision comes true that we have a more hybrid hiring situation, a more
Mm.
hybrid pool of experts within your company.
I hope so too. And Maximilian, we're gonna be able to just sort of check back in to see how far we've come down that route already. But I think it seems to be the way things that are going, and it's fantastic for you to share your sort of knowledge, experience, and thoughts at this stage already. And then we can revisit them and see how things are going. But fantastic work that you're doing, and really great for you to share the thoughts and ideas that you have right now.
Same back to you. Seriously, I love that you give freelancers a voice and people are able to tell their stories because this is what we need. What I said
Yeah,
before, we need stories. We need to hear that everyone is having struggles, is having issues, but also is having successes,
yeah.
and a great path ahead of them and some reassurance. I really love that you set up this format and you show or you give platform for people to tell what's going on and people can listen to it too when they maybe need some
Yeah,
advice or some feedback or just any information or story to hear that it's gonna be all right and it's gonna be okay.
it definitely will be. Maximilian, thanks indeed for your time and look forward to speaking again soon.
Thank you so much.